Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Cotteritas from Historic Boston, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this dedication and ribbon cutting of the Upham's Corner Comfort Station and the new home to Comfort Kitchen. We are blessed today primarily because the weather has held out for us. But if it does start raining, just put up your umbrella or crawl under somebody else's. But if it's lightning, we'll go inside. Just want you to know we're looking after you. Today we are celebrating the transformation of this building from a building that once served the transportation needs of this neighborhood as a comfort station into a new useful restaurant for contemporary Bostonians today. For nearly 60 years, it served trolley riders when there were trolley tracks in the middle of the road here. And then for 40 years, it was abandoned and empty and in bad shape. And yet today, here we are celebrating its renewal, largely devoted to a public-private partnership between Comfort Kitchen and Historic Boston, but many others that you'll hear about today. So a couple of housekeeping matters, or at least one really important one that I need to call out, which is that at the end of this speaking program, you all, we're going to turn the tables. You're going to become the stars of this show. You're going to join us up here, please, so we can face outward and take a photograph with the building and have a community photograph that commemorates this occasion. So we're going to need to do that in short order, so I'm telling you now so you can prep your smiles and you can get ready to bolt forward and join the photograph. One of the things that you will hear a lot about today is about partnerships, and partnerships with many different groups. But I don't think there's any more important partnership in the development and redevelopment of this building than ours with the City of Boston. And it's with many people within City Hall. On the one hand, we benefited from the great work of Sheila Dillon and the D&D or the Mayor's Office of Housing that helped to steward this building into Historic Boston's hands for the purposes of renewal. We also benefited from the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and the Small Business Office and the grants from them to help carry out the storefront improvements. The Parks Department, our direct abutter, was very helpful through the development process, and the Chief of Environment, Mariama White Hammond, and the Boston Landmarks Commission, this is a Boston landmark, were also really helpful in defining exactly what needed to be preserved and how. And then finally, the Community Preservation Act and CPA program that provided some very critical and substantial funds to help close the gap on this project because it was definitely a tough one. All of these folks brought really important resources to us, but nothing rivals the energy and determination of their leader. And it's my honor to welcome her honor today to these festivities. Please join me in welcoming our partner-in-chief, Mayor Michelle Wu.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much to Kathy for all of your work. Many of the beautiful community-grounded sites in the city that reflect our history and tell our stories have been possible through partnership with Historic Boston and many of the folks who are mentioned here. I have a list of names that I want to read off that just represent a sampling of the many hearts and hands who have been part of bringing this to life. I want to start first with the Comfort Kitchen's owners, Biplov Rai, who you'll hear from in a little bit. Miyako Pearl Perry. Kwesi Kwa. And Rita Ferreira. Thank you also to the board and staff of Historic Boston and Kathy for your leadership. To Upham's Corner Main Street, Val Daly representing, to our Office of Housing with Chief Dillon, our Landmarks Commission, Roseanne Foley, Boston Preservation Alliance, Matthew Dickey, Boston Community Preservation Act program with Nadine Brown's leadership, Josh Doran from the Massachusetts Historical Commission, the Reverend Willie Bodrick of the American City Coalition, Sean McDonald from the Architectural Heritage Foundation, and so many more. I also want to thank my colleagues in elected office who are here. I'm going to look around and point out anyone who I'm not seeing off the bat, but I see standing here City Councilor at Large Julia Mejia, City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson, City Councilor Ritsu Luijen, State Representative Chris Worrell. Am I missing anyone else who's here? Okay, and many, many more who could not be here. Thank you for all that you do to make sure that our city's neighborhoods have the resources and the focus that they deserve. This is, as you heard, a historic site for this community, a location that really represents the commitment to ensuring that residents from this neighborhood, in the midst of their day-to-day lives and challenges and needing to get where they were trying to go, could have that little moment of rest and comfort and community. And after decades of sitting vacant, it's amazing to see this not only now back providing rest and respite and comfort and community, but jobs in our community, the incredible cuisines of the African diaspora, which I've already been able to enjoy a couple different times for a couple of wonderful lunches and meals, and a commitment to lifting up Upham's Corner as a place where we want to center the voices of all those many, many cultures who make up this city. And so, most of all, we hope that you will not only celebrate with us today, but come back. Come back, spend your dollars here, support the restaurant and all of the staff and the team that have made this possible. And remember that when we tell the story of Boston, we're often very focused on the future, where we're going, and all that's needed to solve the challenges of the day. But oftentimes we can find those solutions in our history. We can look back and see all the many efforts that generations before us put into it. And by building on those efforts, by lifting up their stories and the history of each of our neighborhoods, in fact, we can accomplish both. So thank you all, and thank you to everyone who had a hand in this.
Thank you very much, Mayor Wu. If any of you live or work in this neighborhood, you've undoubtedly stopped by here already. On the one hand, it's a wonderful place for food. It's absolutely delicious, and if you haven't been, you must come back. But it's also a place for gathering, and that's the intention of the team that brought it together, and they do it very well. It's my pleasure to introduce you to somebody who really probably has about as much patience as we do at Historic Boston. I mean, this project has taken about 7 years, and a good amount of the time lapse and all of that had to do with a pandemic and construction costs and supply chain issues and all the things that can factor into doing this kind of a project. But the team at Comfort Kitchen stayed the course and stayed focused, and we have something great to show for it. And there's a team behind this man, but it's my pleasure to introduce you to the one who really represents the best of Comfort Kitchen, and that's Biplar Rai.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to acknowledge the land that we are on, the land of indigenous Massachusetts and Pawtucket indigenous group. I also want to acknowledge our quiet neighbors on our left, where there are 3 unmarked enslaved people's grave, and for paving the path for all of us today. I also want to acknowledge all the ethnic groups that have lived and worked and made this a vibrating community from the very first of the beginning. Native people, Scottish people, Polish people, Jewish Americans, and also our Caribbean friends, Cape Verdean friends, and Vietnamese community that make up Dorchester. Like Kathy mentioned, it took 7 years for Historic Boston, and it took us 3 years and 3 administrations. So thank you to Mayor Walls, Mayor Janey, and to Mayor Wu's administration. So we are here today because many of you believed in us and fought for us. For that, we are very thankful. Today, myself, Nyako, Chef Kwesi, Rita, we created Comfort Kitchen because we believe in immigration history, immigration contribution to this country, and it's worth celebrating it. So we have Comfort Kitchen for that. But none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for our great team, our incredible team. And this day is for you. If you are here in the crowd, please wave your hand. Lastly, thank you everyone. Thank you to the lenders, BLDC, Leaf, Ujima, City of Boston, I'm forgetting one. Dorchester Bay, across the street. And also Mainvest, that was our first initial fundraising. So we raised $100,000 in a span of a month from Mainvest. So thank you to all our community members and our family and friends. And lastly, I want to leave with some data that we have for the last 6 months that we've been working behind. So right now we have 32 staff in this building. 22 staff that are full-time, 5 staff that are on salary, and we speak 6 languages under this roof. Our commitment to the restaurant industry is to raise our minimum wage. We start with $21 and we go as high as $41. So that's the raise that we're working on. This is not possible if you don't support us. So there's 2 things to go home with. And people keep asking me, what can you do for Comfort Kitchen? 1, spread the word. 2, write reviews. It matters. If you don't like our food and service, come talk to me first. Lastly, I know there's a lot of organization, a lot of offices in this group right now. Catering is what really saves small businesses. We do caterings, weddings, and the whole 9 yards. So please come to us for that. And now we're going to, after this, we have some small bites and teas in the patio, so everyone is welcome to that. Thank you so much.
Mayor Wu summarized many of the contributors to this project, but I do have a few more. I'd like to acknowledge the work of the Massachusetts Historical Commission and the tax credits that they brought to this project, without which it would never have happened. There were probably at least 150 donors to this project. Big, small, it didn't matter. What mattered is that they cared and they came forward and showed it. And I'd like to thank our architects, Util and Supernormal. And if he's here, I want to acknowledge Michael Mann, our contractor, and all of his subs, who worked through pretty difficult circumstances to make this happen. And attorney Jason Panos, I know he's around somewhere, saved us a few times. Cheers. And I also want to acknowledge our staff, our project director, Lisa Lewis, who couldn't join us today, but our director of real estate development, Tony Lopes, is here, Pat Teagle, and Jane Simpson. And this wouldn't be complete if I didn't acknowledge the quiet but determined work of our board of directors. Behind every nonprofit, there's a board, and generally speaking, they're made up of great people from their communities who are very committed to mission and making sure through thick and thin things actually happen. So it's my pleasure today to have somebody else speak for Historic Boston other than me. And that is my board member, Dakota Jones, who is not only somebody who's very enthusiastic about construction, historic preservation, and neighborhoods, but he's also somebody who will every once in a while pick up a hammer, use an old traditional saw, and maybe throw some plaster. So I hope he won't spend time on that today, but I think he'll tell you a little bit about why HBI does what it does.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to represent the Historic Boston Board of Directors. I can't believe this day is here. As you've heard, it's been a long time coming. And there's so many people that have been involved in making this happen. I want to thank Mayor Wu for coming out to celebrate this day with us. I want to thank the entire community for working with the Historic Boston staff, with the Comfort Kitchen team, for really seeing the vision and allowing and contributing to its realization. There's a lot of benefits that come from having Comfort Kitchen here. I say that as a foodie, I say that as a neighbor, I say that as a board of director, as a board member for HBI. But there's something else that I think is really, really important. As a Bostonian, having grown up in Jamaica Plain, there are properties all around us that have historic value, but require some investment, some love. And a lot of times those properties, when they receive that love, end up being created for and by folks who aren't necessarily from the community, who may not have the same connection to the community. I think it is so beautiful that through this project, this partnership with Historic Boston and Comfort Kitchen, the opportunity exists for Comfort Kitchen to be the owners of this building, the owners of real estate here in Upham's Corner, and really to contribute to the long-term vision of what this neighborhood will be. That doesn't happen all the time. I think we all know that. But when we talk about, and me personally as a practitioner for diversity, equity, and inclusion, that is really what it comes down to. Not just including people, not just creating access, but creating value and equity for those who have been here, thrived here, and will make this neighborhood all that it can be going forward. So I'm so excited to be here, to eat, to share, to celebrate with everyone. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, the rest of my board, who I'm stealing all your shine right now. The incredible staff from HBI, the great folks from Comfort Kitchen, and the city of Boston, and all of you. Let's take this picture.
5, 4, 3, 2,